Hey everybody, Lauren Cohen here. Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about something that students are always asking me about, which is the best way to learn and ideally memorize jazz standards. So today we're going to talk about my top 5 ways to learn jazz standards as a bassist. Now, you want to stay tuned to the end because at the end of this video, I'm going to reveal the most important step that you need to take if you want to learn and master jazz standards. So stick around for that. So let's get into it. For today's lesson, we're going to use this Google document. There's a link below to download this as a PDF. This has 10 steps for mastering jazz standards. This is a document that I used in my Bass Improv Mastery program. There's a link below as well to learn more about my Bass Improv Mastery program, how I coach bassists on a weekly basis. And in that program, we did an entire session dedicated to this full document, full 10 steps, numerous sub-steps. But we're just going to go through the top 5 from this document today. And again, you can download this as a PDF below. So first thing, and this doesn't necessarily qualify as our top 5, all right? This is just a really important thing to make sure that you're doing. Please start with a source recording, okay? We don't want to just open up iReal Pro or a fake book and learn our tune that way. You must start with a source recording. This information learning tunes has to start at the ear level. It's not something that we just learn from looking at a sheet. All right, so now let's get into our first tip. This will be number 5, and then we're going to count down. So number 5, write out the lead sheet, okay? If you're an experienced jazz player, this is something that you're probably doing a lot of. If you're newer to jazz, you may not be doing this as much. You may just be relying on the sheets you see in fake books or in iReal Pro or something like that. But you want to write out the lead sheet. You want to write out the lead sheet as if you would see it in a fake book or in the real book. With melody and chord changes. And again, you're going to do that from transcribing this from your source recording. Okay, so number 5, write out your lead sheet. And in this process of writing out your lead sheet, it's going to start getting ingrained in your memory, at least in your short-term memory. So number 5, write out a lead sheet of the tune. Number 4, write out an etude, voice leading the 7th chord arpeggios through the chord changes. Okay, I'll read that again. Write an etude, voice leading the 7th chord arpeggios through the chord changes. So if you've been following my channel for a while, I did a deep dive into an etude I wrote on the standard Yesterdays that does exactly this, that walks you through the entire process of writing this etude, voice leading the arpeggios through the chord changes. So here's the etude. Here's what I broke down in that video. I'm not just going 3, 5, 7, 1, 3, 5, 7, 1, 3, 5, 7, etc. I'm voice leading through these changes. These 2 steps will really ingrain this in your brain, at least in your short-term memory. And that's something to address as well. A lot of people, they want to feel like they are memorizing a song. You know, they spend a week on it and they've got it for the rest of their life. Just doesn't work that way. Even the greatest musicians have to review tunes that they haven't played for a while. Now, it'll probably come back to you easier the more you play, the more experience you get. But mostly, this is going to help with your short-term memory. And you know, a couple years down the line, if you haven't played the tune in a while, you will have to review it unless you're one of those freaks with a photographic memory. Now, moving on to our third most powerful tool for learning jazz standards, and that is singing the melody while we're playing a bass line. And I recommend starting simple with this and playing a bass line in 2, with a 2 feel, and singing the melody while you're doing it. So let's just take Autumn Leaves. If I was working on Autumn Leaves, I would sing and play a melody in 2 like this. 1, 2, boom, 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 etc. Right now, it's hard for me to sing and play at the same time. Some of you may have that skill. A lot of bass players do have that skill. It's not something that I'm great at. So singing the melody and playing a bass line in 4/4 is not something I'm going to attempt now. If you're able to do that, if you can sing and play a bass line in 4/4, fantastic. But you can achieve the same goal by just singing the melody, playing the bass line in 2. Moving on to number 2 of our top 5 tips for learning jazz standards. That is, doing some sort of transcription on the recording. So remember, you have your source recording that you're using. That's the basis of everything you're doing here. Taking off a bass line from that recording. I do recommend writing it out. Again, unless you have a great photographic memory, when you write it out, we're just dealing with a lot of quarter notes, even if it's just one chorus, right? 32 times 4. I mean, you do the math on that. 4 beats every bar. That's a lot of quarter notes. It can be tricky to just play through that and just play by ear and memorize those notes. So I do recommend writing that out, and then you have it for reference whenever you need it. But transcribe something, and if you're a bassist, let's start with a bass line. And now moving on to the number one most important thing that you need to do if you want to learn jazz standards as a bass player, and that is you got to play the tune with other people. There's only so much you can do alone in the practice room when it comes to learning tunes. You've got to get those reps in with other musicians, blowing through the tune. It doesn't have to be a gig. It can be super and informal, but there's only so far you can go alone. You can go a long way alone in your room doing all the steps that we just talked about. And even if you want to get more intense, all these steps, most important thing, you've got to play with other people. If you're a younger musician, if you're in college or high school in a music program, you're going to have a lot more opportunities to work on tunes and to get together and blow with other musicians. If you're a little older, you're going to have to do a little work to make that happen. What I recommend doing is making a list of, I call them sparring partners, just friends, people that you can get together with. Ideally, as bassists, we want to get together with compers, people that are playing guitar or piano, so that, we get that sense of accompanying a harmonic instrument. Make a list of some people that you can get together with and just blow, right? Somebody you can just call up and say, hey, man, I'm working on Stella, working on Stella by Starlight. Why don't you get together this Saturday and just blow through this tune for an hour or so? That's all you need. It doesn't have to be some official performance, right? It's just about getting together, getting a sparring partner or 2 or 3, and just getting together and blowing for an hour or 2. But you got to get together and work on the tune with other musicians. So thanks again for watching. Let me know in the comments below some of your favorite ways to learn tunes. And again, if you want to watch that video where I walk through that entire etude on yesterday's, click here.